Good morning, class. Nice to see everybody already in the chat. Little heated conversation. Seems like not sure, not sure if everybody is happy or getting along. But anyway, no, I kid. Of course, it's great to see everybody again. We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, Donald Trump is maybe not ending the conflict that he and Netanyahu started in Iran. Not sure. He says he is, but then again, he says a lot of stuff. We've got the teleporting Trump official, Greg Phillips. We got to discuss that. Sarah Huckabee Sanders getting booted out of an Arkansas restaurant. And of course, John Fetterman's unprecedented unpopularity. A 108-point polling swing for John Fetterman. All of that and so much more to talk about. So let's jump right in. Donald Trump kicked off Monday morning on Truth Social after having a days-long psychotic breakdown on Truth Social. Trump got on this morning, put out a typo-filled message saying, quote, "I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversation, which will continue through the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions." Also, the word witch, he didn't spell it W-H-I-C-H. He spelled it like a witch from Halloween. He then deleted it because, as I said, it was filled with typos. And then a little while later, it was reposted without the typos. So things going great with our president who can't spell. But that's how Monday morning began, which, of course, is a sharp contrast from what he just said the other day, which is the United States has blown Iran off the map, and yet their lightweight analyst, David Sanger at the New York Times, says that I haven't met my own goals. Yes, I have, and weeks ahead of schedule. Their leadership is gone, their Navy and Air Force are dead, and they have absolutely no defense, and they want to make a deal. I don't. But that was Saturday, by the way. But you just said on Monday morning, you guys are making a deal. And 2 days before, you're like, they want a deal. I don't want a deal. I already blew them off the damn map. But then after, in between those two, right, Saturday morning, Monday morning, he also said, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. That was Saturday night. And then, of course, Sunday morning, he says, now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy of America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. Okay. So Iran wants to make a deal, and he does not. Iran holds all the cards, and they've blocked the Strait of Hormuz, and we're going to just decimate them, even though you already said they were decimated. Then you're like, they're dead. Everybody should hate Democrats now. Now, I'm no psychiatrist or psychologist or neurologist, but if you look up the symptoms of bipolar disorder, yeah, you can pretty much go through all of his posts on Truth Social and see that, because that is effectively what we're dealing with. A bipolar president of the United States with access to the world's most well-funded military and no more inhibitions. So this man is crazy, I guess, would be the layman's way of putting it. And I don't mean like, he's crazy. I mean legit crazy. Unpredictable, unreliable, unstable, unhinged, whatever you want to call it. But something is deeply, deeply wrong with this very disturbed man. He also had this to say. Gavin Newsom, who admitted that he suffers from mental incapacity, is unable to read a speech and is dumb, but in saying the dumb comment referred to his audience and therefore became, in the eyes of African Americans, a total racist, which is probably true. Gavin admits that he's a low IQ individual, which typically is not good for winning the presidency. I don't know, seemed to work out pretty well for you. His interview may have been the worst ever given by a professional politician. I believe it takes him out of the race. Kamala is back. The Democrat running in Texas, James Talarico, turns out to be a fraud. It showed after the election when he beat low IQ candidate Jasmine Crockett, no relation to Davy Crockett. Were people actually thinking that Jasmine Crockett was like the part of the Davy Crockett? I don't think that was a thing. He's got 6 genders, insults to Jesus. Only vegan food was wearing a mask in 2023 and 2024. It is a weak and effective guy who we allowed to win prior to releasing the avalanche of information we had on him because, as bad as Crockett was as a candidate, this guy is worse. I believe that any human being running against him, sick, incompetent, close to death, or even a child would win. Oh, boy. So suddenly you guys are against people wearing masks? So what does that mean for all your ICE agents out there? Geez, I don't know. That seems a little iffy, right? Again, bipolar. This man is just out there with this shotgun blast of random thoughts, random insults, random things in his brain that anger him at any given point, regardless of if they're recent or not. Like, that's what is so weird about it. Like the Newsom thing he's talking about where he gave the speech where he, talked about these, that was over a week ago. And there he was on Sunday just going totally like crazy with it. Just absolute bonkers. And the reason this is happening is, of course, because of the stress that he is experiencing. We're at a point where gas prices are still skyrocketing. Hell, even in my town, all weekend, you would have to wait in line for gas. Everybody's filling up out of fear it's going to continue to go up. It was insane. And when you get these runs on these gas stations, that can lead to, localized shortages, which can drive prices even higher. That's anecdotal, of course. That's where I live here. I'm not sure what happened where you live, but the price of gas is driving Trump insane. His inability to make any progress with the Strait of Hormuz is driving him insane. The Epstein stuff still in the back of his head, driving him crazy. His approval rating in the toilet, his approval rating on every single issue underwater. The airport problems, which he thinks he's going to solve by putting TSA agents there. All of this is causing him to lose the little bit of sanity that he may have had left. And I know I've said this a lot recently, but it's true. Every time we see these periods of intense stress or just so much getting to him, his brain gets worse. And it doesn't ever bounce back, right? It doesn't ever get better again. This is the new baseline for this absolutely, totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs president of the United States. That's what we're dealing with now. And he only gets worse from here. A bunch of super chats came in. Let me kind of rapid fire through these real quick. Trump is just too stupid to govern. This is Megatunes. The fact that he was elected again no longer boggles me. To quote The Dark Knight, some people just want to watch the world burn. Why? I don't know. I think there's some truth to that, with regard to the quote from The Dark Knight is I think you do have people that were just like, screw it. Let's just see, right? Let's just come on, man. Like it'd be fun to watch everything burn down. There really are people like that. Um, to a degree, I used to be a little bit that way, not with voting habits, but anytime there'd be a hurricane, I'd be like, you know what? I hope it comes here. I just want to see, just knock everything down. That would be crazy. And of course, that's when I was, early 20s and just didn't care about anything and didn't think of how devastating things like that would be. Then finally going through one myself, I realized, like, you know what? That's a pretty dumb way of thinking. And that kind of snapped me out of it. So hopefully that's happened with voters too. Couple from V-Man here, but first, in between those, Scott Carden says Trump is mad about his 2 brain cells were fighting for 3rd place, then threw a temper tantrum that they didn't get a participation trophy. Andre Brandon reminding everybody that this Saturday is the No Kings protest. V-Man's first super chat says, when this regime is done, the U.S. reputation will be so low, we're going to have to go on a massive apology tour to every nation we messed with over the last 100 years. Start with Guatemala and the family of former President Jacob Arbenz. To overthrow the guy for giving unused farmland to poor people is one thing, but to humiliate him by making him strip nude in front of cameras and make it so he could never live anywhere is just evil. Scorpius says Iranian military budget minus plus slash minus 9 billion. U.S. military budget minus plus slash minus 1 trillion. Almost seems like there is a paper tiger here. Trump is not like the other kids that gets a participation prize. Nope. He has to make that participation prize himself. Or he just takes it from other people. That's his participation trophy. Chris Campbell says, my brother genuinely thought the first term was good for us, especially economically. I still don't understand why. I don't either. I really... There are people who are like, no, he did such a good job. And those people need to be pressed. Like, that's what we have to do, is we have to question them and say, okay, explain that. Explain it to me like I'm 5. Tell me how the economy got better. Long before COVID, before anybody even heard the word, long before anybody knew what PPE was, economists were already warning us we were, 6 to 18 months away from a full-blown recession under Trump's policies. Now, that recession came sooner due to COVID, which is why I brought up COVID. But even without COVID, we were headed towards a recession because of Donald Trump's policies. So anybody who says, like, the economy was good, it was COVID that ruined it, bullshit. Go back and actually read something. Hell, you can go back through the Ring of Fire archives and see my videos from the time warning about it, again, before COVID was even a thing. So those people are just lying to themselves. Roman numeral 4 says, we're so far beyond idiocracy, at least President Dwayne Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho had the sense to hire a smart person when he met one. That is the moral of that story, I guess. Let's get on here, because I do want to talk one more thing about Iran. Then we're going to move on to some other topics today. But the problem that Donald Trump has had with Iran from the start is that Trump's a dumb guy. And yeah, I say that so much, perhaps it has lost all meaning, but think about it this way. Iran holds all the cards right now, which is weird to think, right? We've got this massive, huge military against the country of Iran. Obviously, we can take these folks out, right? No big deal. What's the worst that could happen? And then, of course, every single other country on the planet ended up getting squeezed because of that little old Strait of Hormuz. And Iran knew it. And because Donald Trump decided to constantly get on social media and rant and rave like a whiny little baby about the Strait of Hormuz, Iran knew from the start, we got this asshole. Look how freaked out he is. Look how angry he is. Look at the backlash he is facing at home. We may not be able to really beat you militarily, but we can cripple you economically. We can hurt you financially because Trump gave up the game. He couldn't keep his mouth shut long enough to make Iran think that, no, we don't really care. This doesn't bother us. This doesn't affect us. You got to come with something else. But Iran knew from the start that, hey, if we just keep doing this with the Strait of Hormuz, we keep this area blocked where nobody can go through it because they're scared, we're winning, at least in that sense. And that, of course, is what Josh Lipsky, senior director at the Atlantic Council's Geoeconomic Center, said. He said this: the message Iran has received of the past 3 weeks and has shown through their actions is that they realize they have what I would call asymmetric economic leverage over the rest of the world, and that's through the Strait of Hormuz choke point. They know that people, not just in the US, but around the world, do not want higher gas prices. They don't want higher airline prices, and we're already seeing that trickle in. This one choke point has ripple effects all over the world. So Iran is leveraging everything they can because they can't fight back militarily in a significant way, despite what we just saw in Israel. They can't really compete with the US and Israel, but economically, they can cause pain. And their gamble is that they can cause enough pain to get the US, Israel, and others to relent. And so the administration is trying to find ways to ease that economic pain. So when Trump came out Monday morning and said, hey, we've had some really great talks over the last 2 days, so I'm not going to bomb their critical infrastructure. What's been going on in those talks? Because Iran was not, according to Trump's own military, close to having a nuclear weapon. So what are they giving up? No, it's the US that has agreed to, we're going to stop bombing, but please, for the love of God, open this back up for us. And I know Iran obviously does not want to be bombed, but he's so dumb that he made sure Iran knew how much pain the US was feeling and how insane it was driving him. This is not exactly what you want with a military strategist. Now, obviously, we don't want any war with Iran at all. This was completely unprovoked. This was Donald Trump getting duped by Netanyahu and Lindsey Graham into doing this. We would prefer to have a leader that doesn't do that. But just in terms of military strategy in general, never let your enemy know that they've landed a decisive blow against you. I mean, that's not even like, oh, you've got to study military for years to know that. That's common sense. But Trump gave up the game because he doesn't know how to regulate his own emotions. And in doing so, gave Iran the upper hand in any negotiations that may be taking place. So much for four-dimensional chess. I like that. Gargoyle Dragon says, how much like Trump's tariffs, will this cause the world to rethink how we do business with Iran and around the Strait of Hormuz? What it should do is not just the way we do business, but how reliant we are on fossil fuels. That should be the wake-up call. That should be the thing that people are like, wait a minute, let's find a way to operate as a people without this. That's what I hope happens. Not that they're like, oh, let's go maybe find a new route. No, let's get off fossil fuels in general. So hopefully that is what happens. Scorpio says, after seeing how Trump responded when Mueller died, it's nice to have a template of what to say, or at least a screenshot to send back when he finally pegs it. Yeah, and that was, I'm glad you brought that up. That was another part of his like meltdown over the weekend that I totally forgot to mention in that whole thing. But yeah, you don't have to be civil. You absolutely do not have to be civil. And any Republican who tells you that, send them that screenshot immediately. Honest to God, hope everybody has saved that screenshot. Truly BTD says everything he does makes sense if you premise he was put there to weaken the U.S. Nothing, if not, or it is just baffling stupidity. Either way, you're effed. I agree. Thank you, Ballytrox, for the super chat there. Appreciate it. One more Jedi Protector says, perhaps someone should take away his phone. For so very many reasons. Not to mention, there was a report that came out, I guess last week. His staffers are freaked out because he keeps taking unknown calls. I did a segment on that, but yeah, he just answers his phone. Like no matter what the number is not stored in his phone. It's not one of his contacts. He just answers it. The president of the United States picking up unknown calls, kind of like your parents or grandparents may do, and that's how you get scammed. But this guy just loves like, oh, the phone's ringing. Oh boy. Hey, what's up? I'll tell you whatever you want to know. You need my bank account info? Here it is. Wee. Because he's got issues. So he should not have a personal phone. I agree. One more from Chris Campbell says, screen cap the post, just cross out Mueller and write Trump and send it to everyone. LOL. People were fired over posts cheering Charlie Kirk's death. People had their lives destroyed for not properly mourning the death of Donald Trump's favorite podcaster. Their lives were destroyed. They tried to prosecute some of them. And yeah, another thing about the Charlie Kirk thing too is how hilarious it is that everything they wanted to do, like we're going to name a street on every college campus after Charlie Kirk. We're going to have Charlie, like little red states all over trying to pass all these Charlie Kirk laws. All of them failed pretty much. And then everybody just gave up and moved on. Like, whatever, we're done. Yeah, that's how big of an impact, once you're gone, you may have been a big thing, or at least pretended your party pretended you were a big thing. But then once you're gone, it's kind of like, next in line. That's the life of an influencer, right? Chris Huggins says, I love how testimony in Congress, they claim national security when you only have to listen to Trump and he will tell us all the battle plans. Kind of lost my train of thought here. Anyway, let's move on because we do, again, still have a ton to talk about. As of Monday morning, ICE agents have now stormed airports across the United States on Donald Trump's orders to help out the TSA agents who, of course, are working without pay during the partial government shutdown. So now, and videos started coming out Monday morning, ICE agents at the airports, these incompetent, stupid human beings are now going to be in charge, I guess, of air travel safety. These masked brown shirts are somehow going to make it to where you don't have to stand in a TSA line for an hour or two before your flight. Not exactly sure how that works because, they're not exactly trained on how to use any of that equipment. I mean, if you've flown any time recently, prior to the shutdown, most airports, even the smaller ones, have upgraded their equipment, their screening stuff. These ICE idiots, a lot of whom are high school dropouts based on the reports we've seen of the new people Trump has recruited, they don't know how to operate this stuff. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what signs to recognize of, individuals or what could be hidden where. It takes training to do the things that TSA agents do. Now, it's not like years and years of training, of course, but it's more than just an hour of like, hey, here's you push the button, this machine starts going, they put the stuff on it. You get to yell at them. Sometimes you tell them, take the belt off. Sometimes you say, take the laptop out, leave the laptop in, right? You just confuse them a little bit. That's not what the training is. So now we're going to have possibly armed psychos running airport security. Now, I have never in my life been worried about being shot at an airport. I will be now. But this is Trump's plan. And he announced over the weekend, of course, on Monday, ICE will be going to airports to help our wonderful TSA agents who have stayed on the job, despite the fact that the radical left Democrats, who are only focused on protecting hardline criminals who have entered our country illegally, are endangering the USA by holding back the money that was long ago agreed to with signed and sealed contracts and all. All right, I'm not going to continue reading that because here's the thing. Don't you dare open your stupid fucking mouth and say the Democrats are the ones letting criminals into this country. You son of a bitch, have pardoned violent, dangerous criminals and let them run the streets in the United States, where a lot of them did what? Committed more crimes. Some of them committed sexual crimes against children, which they couldn't have done had you not let them out of prison. But you let them out of prison because they were your supporters and you love them. But those are the kinds of people who support you. So don't ever, any Republican ever, tell me that Democrats are the ones letting criminals on our fucking streets. That is going to piss me off every goddamn time. And I don't ever want to hear that again. Second, you're the one who told Republicans in the Senate to vote against a Democratic measure that would have allowed the TSA agents to actually receive funding during the partial government shutdown. In other words, they would be being paid if it weren't for you. But of course, that is a fact that most people are not aware of. Most people don't even realize that there was, in fact, a motion by Democrats last week to suspend certain Senate rules to allow the TSA agents and, of course, the Coast Guard to continue receiving their paychecks during this partial government shutdown. Republicans voted against it. And we found out just a day or so ago that they voted against it at the request of Donald Trump himself. So don't accuse the Democrats of doing what you and your party are the ones who are guilty of actually doing. So Skeets here says, ICE are nothing more than January 6th supporters. Gargoyle Dragon says, I would take the surliest, most exhausted TSA agent over the nicest ICE agent. I don't even know. Like, I wouldn't feel safe with these psychos in the airport. I wouldn't feel safe with them on the streets. I don't feel safe with them on the street. They're the worst of the worst, the lowest of the low. And again, if you've read those reports about the kind of people that they are now recruiting, they're people you wouldn't want to be around even if they weren't ICE agents. I mean, dumb as a box of rocks, racist, horrible criminal histories for some of them, like just scum. The people that Trump rants about, the Democrats and all these criminals that do these horrible things. Bitch, you're putting them in ICE. Those are the people you're describing that your administration is recruiting for ICE. It's absolutely disgusting. I see a comment that says, we were all duped by Fetterman. And that brings us to our next story. Let me get Skeets here real quick. It says 2 Air Canada pilots died at LaGuardia yesterday thanks to Mike Johnson. The plane hit a fire truck. Yes, it did. And that is absolutely tragic there. That's, air traffic controllers are supposed to be in charge of that stuff. And yes, with the government shutdown, they're also not being funded. But moving on. Fetterman. According to CNN data guru Harry Enton, Democratic Senator John Fetterman has now experienced the largest drop in support for anyone in the Senate ever not just this term, not just this year, not just on the Democratic side or the Republican side, ever. There has never been a sitting United States senator of any party that has experienced the type of approval rating disaster that John Fetterman is experiencing right now. When Fetterman came into office, his approval rating was plus 68 points. It is now negative 40, representing, as Enton pointed out, a 108-point swing. Here is what Enton said. Look at how low he has fallen, down to negative 40 points. He's down there with the Titanic among Democrats in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And to put a comparison to it, you always hear about how Chuck Schumer is disliked by the Democratic base nationwide. Chuck Schumer has a net popularity rating of about negative 2 points. He is net 38 points more popular than John Fetterman with Pennsylvania Democrats. I was also looking at Kristen Sinema, who, of course, ended up leaving the Democratic Party in Arizona. She was considerably more popular just before she shifted over than John Fetterman is at negative 40 points. There is no historical analog to this. That is how unpopular Fetterman is with Pennsylvania Democrats. There's basically no doubt in my mind that if Fetterman decides to run for re-election as a Democrat, he will face the primary challenge, and it will be a very competitive one. Now, I disagree. I don't think it's going to be competitive at all. I think that would be probably the biggest primary defeat that we have ever seen. Like, competitive means like, oh, it's going to be neck and neck. I mean, as long as you know what the word competitive means. Fetterman will not serve another term in the United States Senate. Like, there is no part of me that thinks this man is going to win re-election regardless of what party he runs under. He's not going to win. He is a one and done. And hey, the good news, by the way, is we only have 2 years left. Well, technically, I guess 3, but then he's gone. I saw somebody post on social media the other day that we need to have some sort of lemon law for politicians, right? You know, Kirsten Sinema, John Fetterman, these people who ran as like genuine, true progressives. And then they get into office and they're like, ha, suckers, I'm actually a Republican. I gotcha. And a lemon law, you know, like with a vehicle, if you buy a car and the salesman's like, no, this thing is awesome. It's great. There's no problems with it at all. Don't you worry about a thing. And then, you know, a week or two later, whole thing just shuts down. We have lemon laws so that you can go and get your money back because you bought a piece of crap. And that's what these politicians have become. They're pieces of crap. They presented a false persona to us. They sold a version of themselves that was not real. We bought it. We all believed it. But we have no recourse, especially in the Senate, other than to wait 6 effing years before we can vote these people out again. That is ridiculous. We should not be stuck with the lemon politician for 6 years, at least in the House. It's only 2. Still bad, but better than 6. Something has to change. Constitutionally, we need to institute a change, implement a change, so that we're not stuck with these people for over half a fucking decade. But that's the situation we're in right now. Nasser Odie says, hey, Farron, have you seen the response that Trump had about Robert Mueller death? Yep, we mentioned that just a bit ago. McLaren says, Fetterman can go to hell for deceiving Pennsylvanians. We need him primaried out for 2028. And I don't think that's questionable. Like, it's definitely going to happen. There will be a primary challenge. Hopefully, the people of Pennsylvania find a good, non-crappy person, to run there. Somebody that's not, selling a fake persona, but that's on Pennsylvania. You guys gotta find somebody. I hope you do. In fact, there already should be people, coming out and trying to get those wheels in motion now. Not just to get it going in advance, but also to maybe put pressure on Fetterman to stop being such a piece of crap. Maybe you can rein him in a little bit if he knows, hey, these people are out here and they're going to take my job if I keep being a piece of trash. Skeets here says the U.S. needs to elect more young people. They believe in the American dream. Just look at Maxwell Frost or Jasmine Crockett. And I am still very upset about Crockett. That sucks. Somebody says, screw that. No reining in. Okay. So we just let him go for 3 years where we can't do anything and just let him keep getting worse. Or maybe put a little pressure on him to see if it changes things, or we just fucking give up, right? Because that sounds like a great idea, right? Just be like, fuck it, get bad, get worse, don't do anything about it. Yeah, that's a super brilliant plan. I love it. You know what? Let's just do that about everything, right? Yeah, we don't need to go out there and protest Trump this weekend. He gets the message. He knows. He's just going to be bad no matter what, so fuck it. What a dumb fucking thing to say. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to piss people off with my response now, but I'm sorry. No. At least try, right? I'm not in the let's just give up column yet. I don't understand that at all. I really genuinely do not. Like, that mentality is what puts us in situations like this to begin with. Gherkin Garboy says, sending ICE to airports is such an insult to the TSA, and they're essentially working for free while these wannabe cop cosplayers are roaming around. And yeah, at the same time, ICE isn't getting paid. ICE isn't getting paid either. So why do we want more unpaid people there? It's just going to be more angry, bitter, irate people. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all, especially because those angry, irate people are definitely so much worse than the others. Trekkim says, have you heard of the Convention of States? Yes. Thank you for asking. Not sure where you want me to go with that, but thank you. Scorpio says, California had a recall vote for Newsom a while ago. Having that for federal office would be epic. Yeah, and unfortunately with that as well, that would have to be a constitutional change. And maybe that's where the Convention of States, comes in. But yeah, we do have to have a constitutional change for any kind of recall on a federal office. And I think we should. Now, would it get abused like it did with trying to get Newsom out of California? Hell yeah, it would. Because people are dumb and they do stupid shit. But we still need it because it's going to get rid of more bad people than it is going to spark, oh no, I have a headache of a recall election. And for the record, you know what? I'll go as far as this. If there is a federal recall, if we do get that constitution, we do need to have something in there that is, okay, the election is fully federally funded. You cannot donate money. That's what it should be. So that way it does put a little bit of a safety net break on it. So you don't have these corporations like in California trying to create these fake, AstroTurf movements to recall people. Catherine Rogier, thank you so much for that. Let's go on because we do have some fun things to talk about. So we'll move past the anger and the seriousness. One more from Skeets here says, F me, Project 2025 is a constitutional admin. We need to be just as hard on the left as they are on the right. I think we need, well, I don't want to say we need our own Project 2028. No, because I don't want to go that. But no, we need to fight them as hard as they fight us. I agree with that 100%. A senior Trump official with FEMA said during a recent interview that he once teleported 50 miles against his will to a Waffle House. The Trump official was Greg Phillips. He is the leader of FEMA's Critical Office of Response and Recovery. And here's what he said. Teleporting is no fun. It's no fun because you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really understand it. It's scary, but so real. And you know it's happening, but you can't do anything about it. And so you just go with the ride. And wow, what just an incredible adventure it all was. A real quote from a real person in charge of FEMA's Critical Office of Response and Recovery. So if you're facing any kind of natural disaster in the next couple years, don't worry, because we can have the FEMA person in charge of it just teleport straight to you. Maybe. I don't know. As he said, we can't really control it. And he ended up in a Waffle House instead. But he also said it's happened multiple times. Okay, a lot to unpack there. Let's start with the Waffle House thing. Honestly, if I could teleport, I'd probably end up at some point at a Waffle House, right? I mean, look, like any good college student in the South, I've woken up at a Waffle House. I have fallen asleep at a Waffle House, but by God, I have never teleported to a Waffle House, and now I want to do that more than anything. These are the people that we have running our federal government. But let's look at it this way. There's two different ways this man is an absolutely insane danger to the United States. The first is he's either insane enough to think he legitimately teleported, right? Like maybe like a kid in the car on a long road trip, you fall asleep and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, we've teleported to a hotel. No, you were asleep. Okay. It's not just instantaneous. Or so that's the first reason he's a danger to the United States, because he might be insane. Or two, he could be a danger to the United States because maybe he just gave away some kind of top secret technology that the United States has actually successfully developed, and now he's giving away secrets that obviously should not have been given away. Really, those are the only two possibilities from his teleportation story, because either he's insane or it actually happened and he probably wasn't supposed to tell us that, hey, actually we can teleport. Or I guess maybe the third option is perhaps he has latent superpowers that are just manifesting now. And he's going to end up being a superhero or supervillain. I don't know. That one could go two different ways as well. But those are the only possible options. Neither good, but that's where we're at. And not to mention, if you guys at the government, at FEMA, if you guys do have teleportation, maybe go help the people stuck in those long-ass TSA lines, right? I mean, TSA works for FEMA anyway. Instead of going through a metal detector or the body scanner, why not make it go into the teleporter? I don't know if the Waffle Houses around the country can handle that, because apparently that's the only place y'all seem to be able to send people. But if you could at least get somebody at the airport to a Waffle House in their hometown, right? That's a lot closer. It's a lot more convenient than flying. I don't know, but this is the caliber of people we are dealing with running the United States of America. Perhaps he meant to say transport and not teleport. I don't know. He really was like, yeah, you don't know what you're doing. You just go with it. I think he definitely knew what he meant. Teleporting, as long-haired hippie dragon says, would solve the oil crisis. There it is. We don't even need the Strait of Hormuz because we just teleport the oil to the refinery. And we wouldn't even need as much oil for fossil fuel burning. We'd still need it for production because we wouldn't have to burn fossil fuels because we just all teleport somewhere. Boom, we're there. I mean, look, if Trump loves to make money, right? He loves to cash in on things. If he markets these as like, hey, it's the Trump teleportation device, first of all, I wouldn't trust one of those. But there's a lot of money in that, Donnie. So if you guys have some teleportation stuff hidden around, maybe now's the time, right? Maybe that'll make that approval rating go up a little more. Teleport me to the day that the big, beautiful obituary comes out. Hey, it's teleportation, not time travel. Okay, we gotta set limits, right? But I imagine if we get to the point where it's like, okay, we have teleportation, we can send you from one spot to another. I have to imagine time travel, is not that big of a leap from there, right? If we already know we can get somebody from point A to point B instantaneously, who's to say that point B can't be at a different point in time? Yeah. So maybe. I honestly probably should have started with that story. I'm in a much better mood now. I think everybody's having more fun now. Suzanne Krimmer says they're high. Yeah, that obviously is also just a lot of drugs and booze, probably. Because as I said, there's times I thought I may have teleported to a Waffle House. But that was just, my college days. Did a lot of teleporting back then. Gargoyle Dragon says, conspiracy theory, but it's a good read. Look the U.S. Philadelphia teleportation experiment. Look up the U.S. Philadelphia teleportation experiment. It's wild. I hadn't heard of that. Don't put the batteries in the wrong way with those teleporters. Waffle House versus Pancake House battle is on. Pancake House. I've never heard of Pancake House. Is it the IHOP? Which IHOP cannot hold a candle to a Waffle House. Absolutely not. In Denny's, don't even. No, it's Waffle House. That's where we go. I'll teleport to a Waffle House right now if they'll let me. Like, come on, let's do it. I'll sign up. Wouldn't it be hilarious if I just suddenly disappeared right now? That would have been a great time for the stream to accidentally cut off and people would be like, oh shit, they got him. He's at Waffle House. Oh, man, if ever there would have been a great time for the internet to just go out, that would have been it. Here's a super chat says, so he's saying we could end the war in Iran by teleporting the entire IRGC to the moon? I don't know if it can go that far. Is there a Waffle House on the moon? It may just be limited to Waffle Houses. You know what? And that's okay. That's another theory here is maybe it's not the government that developed the teleportation. Maybe it's Waffle House that did. Maybe Waffle House has come up with teleportation to just randomly bring people in. Like, boom, now you're here. What do you want? Oh, dear God. Chris Campbell says, I think we need a Project 2028 and we go high stuff, play by their rules and finally get change. I agree. I've never been a fan of when they go low, we go high. Moondragon says, I've been to Waffle House, make my biscuits / kitchen table. I'm the hash brown guy. Used to be when I was in college, my standard order, and this was before I was, heavy. Like I was, in shape. My standard order at Waffle House at like 3 a.m. would have been triple double or double triple, I think is what I would call it. And that would be 2 3 hash browns, 2 triple orders of hash browns. So 6 hash browns, which I would then load up with Worcestershire, which was so, and ketchup, of course, which was so good when you'd been out all night. I would probably immediately vomit if I attempted that today. Cadet Bonespurt says Waffle House can teleport hurricanes. No, they predict them, right? That's the prognostication. So in addition to teleportation, Waffle House also seems to have clairvoyance as well. Waffle House is supernatural. You know, I mean, look, that's why you see if there's like a Waffle House fight, the staff is like this they're like Captain America at that point. Waffle House, I don't know. There's something there. There's something in those hash browns. Skeets here says, teleport Trump to Antarctica, but the leopard seals would get sick from eating toxic waste. Be a lot of orange vomit from those leopard seals. K-Watcher says, 4th option is he huffed devil's breath. Yeah, drugs are definitely an option, especially with this administration. Maybe he was hanging out with Don Jr. and teleported to a Waffle House. Free advertising for the Waffle. Yeah, I look. Hey, Waffle House, you wanna sponsor me here? I'll do some ad reads for Waffle House. Let's move on to our last story here. I know Waffle House is a Southern thing. We don't have them here in Oregon. Yeah, honestly, you're probably lucky. It's not even like Waffle House is good if you haven't been to Waffle House in like 2 or 3 years. If you go more than like once every 6 months, really, it's like, you're doing it to punish yourself. Like you've done something bad and your penance is, okay, you got to go to Waffle House now and down like a cup of grease, basically, is what you're getting with it. No offense to Waffle House. I'll still go there, but it is what it is. We're losing audience here, I can see. But let's move on because we do have one more story. Not quite as fun as teleporting to Waffle House, but it does involve a Republican politician getting kicked out of a restaurant. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders was recently kicked out of a croissant restaurant in her home state of Arkansas after her and her security detail spent over an hour sitting there, making the staff and other patrons feel very uncomfortable. So here's what happened. You have these 2 restaurant owners. They own a restaurant. It is called the Croissanterie or Croissanterie, depending on how you would like me to pronounce that. But they own it. And okay, in walks Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her entire security detail and, staffers. And they're like, okay, well, we don't agree with you politically, but unlike certain conservative business owners, we're not going to refuse you service because we disagree with your lifestyle. You can come in, order your croissants, and they did. They ordered their food. They got their food, no problem. They sat down, no problem. Nobody said anything to them. But then after more than an hour, when the staff was like, we don't like these people, they're still here. Like, can we do something? They're making everybody uncomfortable. We can't tell if she's looking at us or not. And it's weird. I don't know if they said that, but I would have. And no, I don't feel bad about making fun of her personally because she is a horrible human being and she deserves it. Anyway, the restaurant owners then had to go and say, hey, guys, skedaddle, bye. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders, after getting booted from the restaurant, issued a statement saying, Arkansans, I'm not sure if that's how you say the residents, but anyway, people from Arkansas are known for their warm hospitality. And while that restaurant certainly doesn't meet that standard, my administration will continue to focus on lifting Arkansas up, not tearing others down with discrimination and hate. It wasn't hate. You were allowed to get the meal that you wanted. You used the establishment. You kind of overstayed your welcome. And I can tell you from many years of working in the restaurant industry myself, when you have a table that is no longer ordering and has finished their food and is just camping, typically a manager will come out and say, hey, if you guys do not need anything else, which we're more than happy to get you more, we would kindly ask you to vacate. We do have other people waiting for a seat, even if we didn't have other people waiting for a seat. So, yeah, we did. Restaurants do that. So if you're sitting in a little pastry shop for over an hour with a security detail, you're taking up spaces for other people to come in and patronize the restaurant. You're costing them money effectively. So don't sit there and act like, oh, they're just filled with hate, and we're not. You're the same lunatic that has been embroiled in scandal since the first month you came into power. Right? You're tens of thousands of dollars for a lectern, hundreds of thousands of dollars on travel, to the point where you made Republicans pass a piece of legislation shielding your travel records so that we couldn't know. But then you were still dumb enough to post pictures on social media of you hanging out in these luxury boxes at sporting events, while your state is one of the least well-funded, running one of the biggest budget deficits, one of the worst healthcare systems in the country, one of the highest poverty rates. Everything about Arkansas is trash because of you and the Republican leadership that state has suffered under for decades. But sure, let's get a little out of sorts because they told you to stop eating croissants and go do your effing job. Couple more super chats here, and then we're calling it a day, folks. Terry Cyan says, Save Act 96%, I believe, will pass, then forever miserable occurs. I also, even with the roadblocks that have emerged, I still also unfortunately think it will pass. We're going to have to pass legislation to undo it if the Democrats take over everything in 2028. But I do unfortunately believe it will pass. Gargoyle Dragon says, impeach Huckleberry Sanders. She violated loitering laws. Oh, and it's pronounced Arkansans. See, it threw me off because there's no I in it. So otherwise I would have said that. Ask a non-white about how nice Arkansas is, says Skeet Sayer. Excellent point. Lauren Tamura says, have you checked info at Fair and Balance yet? Yes, we have. And I did see, I read your email. I did not respond to it, unfortunately. I'm not sure why, but yes, I did. And I do thank you for that. Very interesting stuff there. Ollie J says, oh, if you're a hash brown guy, you've got to try Starvin' Arvin's next time you're in Colorado. Don't tell my wife that, because she is desperate for me to take her back to Colorado. So, she'll be like, well, now you have to go. But I will keep that in mind. Skeets here says, well, her dad was the governor for decades. Yes, indeed he was. And member Halogen says, if the SAVE Act passes, I'm fully expecting to lose my ability to vote from abroad as a U.S. citizen living in Canada. And that it's one of those situations where I don't know what to say to that. That's their goal. That's why they're doing this. So yeah. Also, that's why they're letting the post office go to crap. Postmaster General came out. I talked about this last week, saying like, hey, we may not be able to deliver mail starting next year because we're out of money. Great. Republicans want that. Not just for the privatization, but also so that, hey, you can't do vote by mail because mail doesn't exist. So even if the SAVE Act didn't pass, I don't even know that we'd have mail running in the country for you to be able to vote from abroad. So yeah, it's all I swear to God, Republicans are going to end up having us voting like we're voting for American Idol. Like, text your vote to blah, 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 blah. Yeah, as they think there's fraud now. Anyway, mail is teleported. There you go. Look at that, bringing everything full circle. We solved the mail problem by using Greg Phillips or Waffle House's teleportation technology. If we do this, not if we do this, Jesus, if you are still here, subscribe. If you're not already, I do appreciate that. Tons of great content coming out throughout the rest of the day. I hope you will all stick around for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you all tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central. Thank you all so much. Goodbye.